So we're changing it up a bit today. We are not on the front porch, we're on my back porch. And the reason for the change is we are talking today about change, specifically times of transition. And I know there are a lot of parents out there, like me, who are going through one right now. So many of you know Nate came home a couple weeks ago, and so I have a new roommate. And you know, it is a transition for both of us. And I'm gonna unpack a few thoughts about that. But I know a lot of parents are also doing the opposite. They're sending kids off and they're gonna be empty nesters. So it made sense for me to come with just Toto on my own to talk today, because these times can actually be times where you feel alone, times of change. And sometimes what we do is we isolate, and that's how we cope and that's how we deal. And I really hope that my message today will encourage you to reach out and to lean on some support and to take care of yourself. So, and I got to get to this lesson because I am headed to a massage right after this, because I've decided I'm going to take care of myself, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. I do all these things for my kids and family members and others, but I need to take care of me. Just like on the airplane, before it takes off and the flight attendant gives the instructions, she always says, put your mask on first. And I have to confess, I haven't done a very good job of that in the past. And it's something that I'm learning now, again, through this time of transition. So let's dig in a little bit about transitions. So one of the things that I've learned specifically in the last couple weeks, or relearned, because some of these things are pretty obvious, we know, but when they're kind of hit us in the face, we get the reminder, and we need the reminder. But times of transition require patience. They are times of change. So just in the example with Nate coming home, I'm so used to having my own place with my little Toto. We have our own routines, and all of a sudden we have this new roommate. And Toto is transitioning as well to having Nate upstairs. He hears noises he's not used to hearing. So anyway, it takes patience. And with that, a lot of communication. So Nate and I have been talking very openly about some things, and I'm talking beyond like leaving the toilet seat up. That's little stuff. It's kind of day to day and being around. And Nate is in a transition with finding a job, which I think is a reality with a lot of these kids. They graduate, and then what now? Some of them end up coming home because they don't have a job locked in yet. So Nate has a lot of ideas on what he wants to do, and he's taking steps. And what I've said to him, as long as we're moving in the right direction, as long as we're taking steps each day to get to that open door, I'm okay. I'm going to have some patience. But it's difficult because I'm one of these where I like things lined up. You know, like you graduate, you get a job, you're on your own. Done. And I think there's some delays in some of these kids getting started. And a lot of it's, you know, I think this lack of wanting to do the adulting thing. And Nate and I have joked a lot about that. And, you know, and he's even said to me, Mom, this bed is too comfortable. I don't want to get out of it. And I'm like, okay, so parents, do not make home too comfortable. They'll never want to leave. So that's another lesson other than patience. We want to have a loving environment and provide a wonderful home environment, but do not make it too comfortable. So anyway, all kidding aside, patience is required, definitely on both parts, and open communication. And another thing that I think I've learned is resetting my expectations. I'm a high achieving expectation person. So I am an achiever, so I tend to project that on others, especially my children. And they've always been achievers. Whether it's in school, in the community, and nonprofits, they're always doing. We're doers. The Osbornes are doers. So again, my expectation is you graduate, you get a job, you start your life. So I got to reel a little bit that in, along with the patience, with just step at a time, moving slowly in the right direction. So again, I think when we have an expectation and it's not met, it results in disappointment and anger and resentment. And so getting on the same page, again, back to communication, kind of envelops this whole conversation as far as what the expectations, and setting those up front, whether it's the house rules, like you have to, or you have to get up at a certain time, I expect you to do this, those kinds of things, or expectations with job employment, with just, seeking employment and searching for a job, and just other things, just what it is that's going to help you be good roommates, and also be a support to help project or to push them up to the next level. And it's going to take sometimes some push. And in fact, I was hopeful that Nate would actually be a part of this, and he will maybe someday, but he just wasn't ready. So I kind of gently pushed him, and then I let it go. So knowing when to let go. Sometimes you give them a little push and say, hey, we got to get going on this. And sometimes you got to just let some things go. So you guys are just stuck with me today. So, but yeah, expectations is huge, really in all of life, not just in times of transition, just setting your expectations so you don't set yourself or them, your children, up for failure. And again, we could tend to project kind of what our expectations are onto our children, just in lots of different ways. And so I've really had to check that lately and say, well, what are my expectations? And when you kind of have this timeline, like we got to do it by this time, and there's nothing wrong with that, because goals are very important. And Nate and I talk about daily goals, like what are we doing today? What are we doing this week, next week? So again, communication is so key with any situation, but especially when you have a child coming back home. And just having that open honest relationship and saying, hey, this is not working for me. Or, this is good. We'll keep on this path. So anyway, and then the final thing is where I started, is this whole idea of self-care. And, parents, we do so much for our children. For years, running them to soccer games and basketball and any kinds of activities, cooking meals, getting them to youth group. And sometimes we forget about us in the process. And that's definitely been me. So I'm really kind of releasing this guilt of, oh, I'm going to go have a massage, or I'm going to go do something for me. And I am accepting that as a gift and not feeling bad about it, because we really need to take care of ourselves. And it's about time. If your kids are grown, it's about time. So I hope that you are good to you in these times of transitions, because whether it's a transition with a job, or with kids coming home, or with the loss of a loved one, we're filled. There's always a transition. We're either coming out of one or going into one. So we need to really take care of ourselves and not feel like that's a selfish thing to do, that's a positive, life-giving thing to do, because we are filling up and trying to uphold all these different people in our lives, and we need time. We need time to be filled and to be lifted up as well, and just taking some time for you, I just highly recommend. So with that note, it's time for my massage, so I need to say goodbye. And Toto, how about you? And having this little just doll of a dog has changed my life. And Toto's been a big part of my self-care, because he just gives me that unconditional love that we all need. And so if my nest has never really been empty. I've never thought of it that way. And I have a very full life, so I'm very, very blessed. And I just hope you continue to tune in. More is coming on transitions, and hopefully we'll get Nate here someday. We'll see, to talk about kind of his transition and what he's learned and what he can do to encourage others. So he's got a lot to say, as we all do. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and I am off to my massage. Take care. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.